Shipe Sports Show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Shipe Sports Talk Show. I am your host, always, Matthew Shipe, joined always by my co-host and producer, Paul.
Yes.
How you doing today, Paul?
I'm okay, man. Doing right.
Joined across from me is Chris Cordova.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Oh, let's try that again.
Oh, there it is. Hey, what's going on, everybody?
You know what the best part about so far is?
What?
My face hasn't froze yet.
Hey, don't jinx it.
The night is young.
Don't jinx it, bro.
Well, as you can tell by our attire, Chris is wearing his Maryland tie. I'm wearing my Maryland jersey. So tonight is our college football preview show. We're going to go over our top 5 teams so far. We're going to go over, I'll discuss a little bit about each team. We're going to talk some Heisman and give our college playoff predictions. So it should be a fun night. What do you think, Chris?
Sure.
But before we get to college football, we got a little NFL to discuss and some baseball to discuss. So first, let's get into the Redskins. They had their first preseason game last week. They played the Atlanta Falcons, and they lost 23-17. You know, take it as you want. It's a preseason game. But what fans should be happy about is the first team defense. Falcons went 3-and-out 2 series in a row. They should feel good about that. And one thing, I don't know, maybe you'll find this weird, is Devontae Freeman was playing with the second stringers.
I didn't notice that. I didn't catch that.
They kept him in there for a while. I mean, he only had 5 carries for 9 yards. Right. So really, the first offense for the Redskins, or first defense, did their jobs. I mean, Matt Ryan 0 for 4.
Yep.
I mean, didn't really get anything going there. I mean, I think they had a pretty good. Third down deflection with Breland. Norman did pretty good. The whole line, I mean, they looked pretty good against, I think, a solid Atlanta Falcons, offensive weapons they have there, Julio, Devontae, Ryan. But, I mean, the Redskins' first-string defense did some work there.
It's surprising, especially with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones being an elite connection. Didn't hook up at all. I mean, not even once, if I remember correctly. So, for me, that's definitely something that we should be proud of. But it's preseason, week 1. Maybe the Falcons didn't quite game plan correctly, but they did pull out the win in the end. Yeah.
All right. Well, here's my next problem with the Redskins though. On the offensive side, Kirk Cousins, really, conservative.
Fine.
Nothing. Your first preseason game, you're not going to go anything deep. You don't want to risk your injury. Just quick passes. Did pretty good. The run game.
Yeah.
Sucked.
Run game was
all
terrible.
Night long.
Yep.
It was a
We couldn't get anything going.
Horrible run game.
Couldn't get anything going. What do you think is more of the problem? Was it our O-line or was it their D, their front 7 that really, stuffed us that game? What do you think?
I think it was our O-line just wasn't getting up the field. Now, consideration, we didn't have Trent Williams. He didn't play, so we had the backup right tackle, but still, left tackle, I'm sorry, the blind side. But still, it just, even the second string guys weren't doing anything. I mean, Matt Jones, I watched some plays where Jones needs, maybe make some moves with his feet or nothing, was trying to truck over a guy. This is in college. You can't do that every single play. It's not going to happen. You got to make some moves. And we saw that, I hate to say it, with Derrick Henry, Tennessee. He's used to trucking guys. He did some pretty good feet work for Tennessee. So it's like Matt Jones, he needs to learn, you got to make some moves on your feet. You got to juke. You got to do whatever you want. You see the guys like Bell, Charles, Peterson. They make moves with their feet. Same with Chris Johnson when he came into the league. It was all about quick feet. And Jones is a quick guy, so he needs to learn that quick.
Let's hope so. He didn't fumble. That's a positive, right? That's one of those things that everyone is gonna knock him for, and everyone said that's his issue, and he's got to work on it. And I mean, he didn't fumble. It's a positive.
Hey, that works for us.
It's a positive.
That is a good positive.
But it definitely will, in terms of fantasy football, it's going to drop him down. I mean, he wasn't an elite, first 2-3 rounds running back anyway. But I think that's definitely going to drop him down a couple in the rankings. So it might work out and later on in the season. Like I said, it's just preseason right now. We didn't have our best offensive lineman, so he could be a steal later on in the draft.
And then you go back and you looked at, you have Breland, you have Norman, and God forbid one of them gets hurt because Aldrick Robinson completely demolished the secondary, the second-string secondary. I think it was Quentin Dunbar he's lucky if he's going to have a job. He's lucky to come back to camp that day.
Really?
He got torched twice. The first time he got torched, and it's just he got turned around, and Robinson, and people are all like, oh, Audric Robinson, he torched his former team. No, he torched a whole bunch of guys who probably shouldn't be on the team. But if Breedlove or Norman goes down, this team could be hurting. And I'm almost in the situation where if Breedlove and Norman go down and your second stringers, you don't trust them, maybe bring D'Angelo back up to play cornerback and just get his backup free safety in there, depending how good he is. You know, you almost have to think about that at one point.
It's possible.
But I mean, it's a good thing they did bring in Josh Norman when they did, to be honest with you. Otherwise, they'd be Breedlove and someone out in the middle of nowhere trying to figure out how to do something.
You know, it's weird. Well, maybe I saw an interview, I guess, with, was it D'Angelo Hall and Josh Norman? They were interviewing, I think, while having dinner or something. Mm-hmm. And one of the quotes that he said was, he chose the Redskins versus the actual highest bidder.
I saw that.
We weren't the highest bidder, but he chose us because he saw hardware in our future versus the other team.
I wonder what the other team was. Did he say?
I didn't see it. I only saw like the 30-second or minute clip that
I saw
asked that question. But that's a pretty strong statement for someone who is quote unquote an elite cornerback who could have pretty much gone anywhere, and he chose the Redskins because he saw hardware in our future. What do you think about that?
I mean, that says a lot for someone like him to say that. I mean, it means that maybe there was another team, maybe a contender, that he's choosing. He's saying the Redskins could contend. And honestly, with the offense, they could. And the defense, the way they played, it looked pretty good. Obviously, we'll see more during the dress rehearsal game, which is Game 3.
Yeah.
Game 2 of the preseason, you get maybe the whole first quarter. Game 3 is when you get that whole first half. So we'll see more on how they do there then. Obviously, there's been some issues with Norman. They said during one-on-one drills, take it as you want. I mean, it's a 5-yard in route, and he was playing 7 yards off. What do you think was going to happen? Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, the front seven was better, and in Carolina, but I think he's still going to be. I mean, he did go. I mean, he was matched up every time against the other team's number one.
An elite receiver.
And you got to think, last year the South played the East, so he got a taste of. We all know he got a taste of Beckham. He got a taste of Des Bryant. So he knows what these receivers can do. It's not like it's just, he doesn't know what these guys are capable of. Yes, he does.
Yeah, he's already had a chance to line up one-on-one. Let me see. My question, like you said, who could have been the other team? I mean, it had to be a lesser team, right? Because if he saw having us hardware, that other team must have been, really low.
Well, you
got
to think about teams who need. You can't even look at teams who needed cornerback help because anyone would replace their first or second guy like Norman. Maybe it was Tennessee.
Maybe. So who do we have? So I think next we have. Do we have the Bills? I think.
I
think we have the Bills.
Was the Bills or the Jets? The Jets.
Sorry, the Jets.
Jets,
Wrong
Bills,
New York
Buccaneers.
Team. All right, so Jets.
Bills.
He'll be up against Brandon Marshall
if
The
if Bills. Is Watkins going to be playing?
I don't know.
I hope so, because that'd be a good test.
Very good
test.
But
the Bills is when we'll see the dress rehearsal. The Buccaneers is more of nothing but backups.
Right. That's when you got to cut your roster down to that final 50, 52-man roster?
53.
53-man roster. So, yeah. So if Sammy Watkins plays, it'll be a good duel. We'll see how that goes.
So, off the Redskins, let's go through the rest of the preseason. RG3 got his first, gotta talk about him, got his first action as the Cleveland Browns.
I think that's pretty ironic because you're always like, why do we hear about RG3? Why do we hear about RG3?
I got to because I got to say, wasn't a very good first game for him with them there.
I wouldn't say it was terrible. I would say it had its ups and it had its downs. And you would expect that from somebody who hasn't played a meaningful game in a year. So I would say the interception, a little bit his fault.
He also fumbled.
Yeah,
got the ball back. They got it back.
Fumbled off the snap. The interception was a little bit his fault. I think he led the receiver just a little bit too much, but it could have been the receiver not running the correct route. But
great, and I tell you what, the one pass to Terrell Pryor was really nice.
Of course, yeah, that was the highlight of the night.
But you didn't have Coleman out there. You still don't have Josh Gordon, I think, who just started practicing.
He's back on the practice field.
So, take it as you is. We'll see how he goes the weeks leading up. But if hopefully the interception goes down, because honestly, I really do want to see him play the Skins in Week 4.
Yep.
Real quick before we head off, I do want to talk about. We talked about the Skins. I do want to touch on my team real quick, which are the Titans, and the run game. That looked completely reinvented, whatever you want to say, reestablished, amped up. It was a really good day for both of those running backs. Granted, DeMarco did have the 71-yard touchdown, which you put a lot of his
if
yards on. But if you
right.
think about it, you take away the 71 yards, let's say it was a 10-yard run, he still 6 carries for 33 yards. That's still a pretty good, day for him. You got Derrick Henry, 10 carries for 74 yards. That's a touchdown. And the way he was running, it looks like it's going to take a lot to put this guy down. 6'4", 240. That's a bulldozer coming at you.
Yeah.
He looked very quick on his feet. There was a lot of talk in camp about how he's going to look on his feet or whatnot. He looked very good on his feet. And did you hear about the thing they did with fans?
Yeah.
Paul, you get this? The first 2 fans, it's for Make-the-Wish Foundation for the Titans, their first 2 plays were fans. They were auctioning off the fans.
Oh yeah, so they were able to like select the play.
Yeah.
Or
They were able to
something?
select
The first play, a 31-yard reception. Second play, a 15-yard run. And then the coaches called the next 3 plays, and it only totaled like 5 or 7 yards.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it was pretty cool to do that. I actually have no problem with that because it's a preseason game. The
Yeah.
only problem is it's with your starters. That's a little scary that you're having your starters do
that's
some.
true.
If I got to do that, I'd probably do some play that I do in Madden.
So
Like a flea flicker or something like that.
how did they do that? Did they give them an option?
I think they had to give them an option. I'm sure they didn't have them do something stupid like a triple reverse or something dumb. I'm sure they gave them an option of play. Say, hey, look, pick one of these. Turn to a 31-yard and a 15-yard run. So, I mean, so that another news for Tennessee, we traded away Darrell Green Beckham today for an offensive lineman from, I think Dennis Kelly's his name, from the Eagles. And one quote stand out to me about that was the coaches weren't seeing any progress in Green at all. He came into camp out of shape, overweight, anything. And then there was a play during the scrimmage where they had him do a fly.
Right.
He just walked off the line. He had no chance to get down the field, and they couldn't even throw the ball at him. And, Malarkey, I guess Robinson made an example out of him where if you don't want to come here and give your 100%, we don't need you on the team. A new GM, new regime, so maybe this is – he was a trouble kid. And also, I guess this affected him more was taking that year off in college and going straight to the draft.
Well, I mean, also you can think maybe that would be the negative view on it, but the positive view on it is they got DeMarco Murray. They drafted Henry.
And then his 5th-round pick, Todd Sharp,
Yeah.
is going to potentially to be a starter. He's been, ever since the beginning of week 1 of camp, he's been with the starters.
And basically what I was saying is maybe they just want something else to shore up that line, which is, they're going to want to run the ball now. They got 2 big backs. I don't remember exactly who called it, but they said it's thunder and thunder. You don't have thunder and lightning. You got thunder and thunder coming right at you.
Well, they did do some formations where they were both in the backfield, split backs. And can you imagine being on the defense like, okay, is it going to be the 6'4" dude or is it going to be the vet? I mean, you don't know what's coming at you. So I think I honestly don't mind that formation. And can you imagine putting them both in shotgun on opposite side of Mariota? Who that's a 3-headed beast right there in itself.
Yeah.
And it seems like, people are like, oh, well, that what's happened with DeMarco when he's with the Philly. I feel like this situation is a little bit different than Philadelphia for DeMarco. I feel like this one's more committed to giving him the ball more.
I was going to say
than in Philly.
That's exactly right. I think it's more of a commitment of or to running the ball, and it's a different type of offense, I think.
It's north and south.
Right.
The Eagles, they want east and west, and you saw that's not DeMarco's. That's not what they did with him even when he was with the Cowboys.
And that's really why Shady McCoy was so dominant.
Because
and
he was quicker.
He
than
was
DeMarco.
able to run those type of plays and be productive in that type of offense.
Now, for fantasy-wise, we talked about it. You shouldn't be hard on who you want to pick. Pick your poison. But I'm someone where if you draft DeMarco, you should probably also draft Derrick Henry just to have both.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations where, like, the Panthers, where if you draft Jonathan Stewart, you better pick up D'Angelo Williams while you're at it. It's one of those. But good start for Tennessee. They come out with the win against San Diego. So we'll see what happens with them. Mariota 5 for 5, like we said, conservative again. He stayed out, I believe for a couple series. Like Kurt, I think was one and done. It varies from team to team.
Yeah, it depends on how much practice they really need. I mean, Mariota doesn't need a lot of practice, but he's just coming off his rookie season. So as much reps you can get him, definitely.
So we got that. And I think out of all the rookie quarterbacks that played this week, I think Carson Wentz looked the best. Too bad he has a hairline fracture now in his ribs because that Eagles offensive line is god awful. And they just traded an offensive lineman away too, which is even more funny. So
That's true.
we'll see what happens with the second preseason game we got coming up. They start on Thursday and go through like Saturday, Sunday. They're like every day of the week or something. So we go on with that. Speaking of the NFL, I think Paul said we can go ahead and announce our little special show. For the second straight year on September 11th this year, which, not the best, not trying to celebrate what we're doing on that day because of what the day means, but the start of the NFL season that Sunday, we will be broadcasting our show live for our second annual NFL kickoff special at BWB, Buffalo Wings and Beer in Germantown, Maryland. The owner of it, Ira, invited us back. He messes on me on Facebook saying, when are you all coming back to BWB? I sent the picture to Paul and Chris. They both saw it, and I think they really like having us there. So we will be there from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The same thing as last year. The first 30 minutes of every show will be our fantasy football, and then we'll get right into that day. The Redskins don't play that day, but since we'll still review, what's going to happen that day.
Right, the
matchup against the Steelers. We'll review the rest of the league. So that's something to look forward to. September 11th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. BWB, Buffalo Wings and Beer in Germantown, Maryland.
I can't wait. I wasn't there for the first one.
And you also missed the Monday night one because you were coming back from Cancun, which I don't blame you. So real quick before we get to our college for what we came here for, the Washington Nationals, real quick, they're still in first place, thankfully. Pretty good lead now. Bad news for the second place Marlins. They probably lost their best bat for the year.
Yeah.
John Carlos Stanton is out.
Yeah.
So Nationals have a comfortable 8.5 lead. The Mets are 11.5 back. You ain't got to worry about the Mets. You can flush them down. Go ahead, flush the Mets down the toilet, please. Anthony's going to freaking hate this if he heard this, if he was on the show today. If he was on the show today, he would hate it. So we can flush the Mets down the toilet. The Mets, the Marlins get there. I think the Nationals could have this division wrapped up by mid-September.
Hopefully, but it's the Nationals. It's DC Sports. You gotta always. You can't lock us in that early.
And then on the other side, in the AL, another local team, the Baltimore Orioles, are also in tied for first with Toronto,
which is surprising for me.
Yeah, I'm the only one who picked them to win the East, and you all called me fools.
I think I had them last place or second to last place. So
I'm the only smart one.
I'm looking like an idiot there.
So real quick, Nationals. Harper came back, I believe 2 days ago. Whatever, looked really good. It looked like that week that he had off for the neck, whatever he had. I don't know what the hell it was.
Right.
Neck soreness, shoulder, whatever they're saying, looked pretty good. They released Jonathan Papelbon, which is I don't care. He sucked. Anyone who says because of team chemistry just needs to forget about it. He sucked. He sucked towards the end of July. He was horrible. I don't know why he thinks a contender wants to pick him up, because why would you trust a guy with over a 4 ERA in your closer? The guy they did bring in, I have not sweated at all since he come in on a one-run game. If it was Pap, I'd be sweating.
Wait, Papelbon's gone?
Yeah,
they got
just
rid of
released him.
When did that happen?
Yesterday.
This week.
Sunday.
Sometime in the past few days. Yeah. But I could have sworn that we had a baseball podcast or episode where we were like thankful that Papelbon was re-signed because he was a good closer.
Who would have known this was? I didn't know. I was behind Pap from day. I was behind.
Yeah.
I was yelling at people to leave him alone, and look what happened. You didn't. How can you expect this was going to happen?
Right.
I think honestly there was something wrong with him injury wise, and they just weren't. But whatever, they bring over this Melicon. I can't know how to say his name. It's MELA and Melicon, whatever. He hasn't made me sweat. And then also the big thing for the Nationals and why they're maintaining the lead, Trey Turner. He could be the best player on this team right now.
Well, he's batting leadoff, isn't he?
Yeah.
Batting leadoff.
This kid has 5 triples already. He's only played like 2 months. The major league leader is 9. He may actually be the lead leader before this is over with. I've never seen a guy that quick hit the ball down the left field line and still made a triple. That you got to get some jets to do that.
That's awesome.
Murphy's still in contention for the MVP. Strasburg for the Cy Young. So we'll see what goes on. Strasburg has a couple past starts have been a little iffy. So we'll see what.
I think that was his quickest start in like years.
Yeah, and same for Scherzer the other night.
Sorry, I meant Scherzer is what I was talking about.
I think Jason's worth. I believe it's up to 45 or 46 straight games he's been on base.
That's good.
So
let me ask you a question. Where are they having Turner play right now?
He's rotating, I believe, between second
and short.
And no, second
short.
and center field.
Oh, okay.
And then Rivera will get some days off. But I think right now they're putting Murphy back at first. The ultimate lineup they should do with Worth hitting should be Worth, Rivera, Harper in the outfield. Then you have Rendon, Espinoza, Turner, Murphy, and then Ramos. That should be their ultimate lineup.
So Murphy would be on first.
Yep.
Okay.
Because I'm sorry, Ryan Zimmerman, you've done great for this organization. You're the one who got this going with the movement, but you're not competing at that level.
Not this
I
year.
don't know how you can put him back in that lineup and make Turner sit. There's no way you can do that if you want to win.
I agree with you. Looking at their depth chart right now, I would definitely put Daniel Murphy at first base, Turner at second. Yeah.
Yep.
Looks right.
Yep. All right, so let's do what we came here to do today, which is our college football preview show. The season starts actually on what is it, like it's the week before the NFL season. Sorry. So the first game is actually Friday, August 26th. Hawaii versus California. It's a 10 p.m. game. If you want to stay up, go ahead. It's just, it's
10 p.m. game.
If
you really miss football that much, you will stay up. I promise.
The big starting day actually is Thursday, September 1st. You have a bunch of games on ESPN3, which is basically watch ESPN. Tennessee starts that day, and then the second, you got pretty good. But the real start date is September 3rd, Saturday, which we'll get into a little bit later because there's some good matchups.
Yeah, Maryland against Howard.
Oh, if Maryland loses that game, I'm done. Let me tell you what. The funny thing is, my wife leads for Outer Banks for a week on the 3rd.
Uh-huh.
She's going for her sister's husband, a whole bunch of their friends. I just started a new job, so I can't get off. So she's like, "Oh, so what are you gonna do?" I'm gone. I was like, "Well, that's Saturday. I'm gonna wake up at 12 o'clock, go downstairs, sit in my chair, and just watch football all day.
Yeah.
Not going anywhere. Don't worry. You don't have to worry about me going out.
Have
just
one beer the whole time.
Oh yeah. College football all day. Not leaving my room." So first, what we're gonna get into is we're gonna tell everyone our top 5 entering the season. Do you want to start? Or do you want me to
Sure,
start?
I'll go real quick.
Go ahead. Your top 5.
So I'm gonna go 5-1.
Okay.
All right. So last will be
So 1 to 5.
5-1.
5 to 1. Okay.
5-1.
1
So
to
number 5.
This is number 1.
This is number 5. I have Oklahoma. They got their quarterback coming back, Baker Mayfield. I really think they're gonna actually make a run to get into the playoffs. Actually, I don't have them making the playoffs. We'll talk about that later. But I think they'll get close. I've got number 4 at Florida State. It's ACC. I don't think they're going to be the best team in the ACC. We'll get to that in a second. But I still think they'll be a really strong team this year, based off the running back that they have, Dalvin Cook. I have number 3 in Michigan. I mean, Harbaugh has done an impressive job coaching that team from, I think, a 4 or 5 win team to a 10-win team in just one season. They have a great draft class coming in. And
draft class?
Sorry.
Recruiting
class, my bad. They have a great recruiting class coming in. I think Harbaugh is where he thrives in this type of in the college football world. Number 2, I have Alabama. I mean, the reigning champs, what can you say? And number 1, I have Clemson. They have the number 2 Heisman in the voting coming back. Number 1 obviously is gone. Henry's gone. I think he's going to pick up right where he left off. He's going to one of the best dual threat quarterbacks, and that's kind of really what is hot right now in college football. Over 4,000 yards passing, 1,000 yards rushing. He's a beast. And if he picks up right where he left off last year, number 1 team in the country. What do you got?
What do I got?
What do you got?
Okay, so I'll do I guess 5 through 1.
Come on, man. You gotta finish with the best.
All right,
Say the
so
best for last.
So my number 5 team, I have Michigan. They're returning their top 4 wideouts. They have probably the best tight end in the nation, which is Jake Butt. They have a good receiver in Drew Chesson, 764 yards, but he had 9 TDs. And Devon Smith is a pretty good running back for that, complement them. Number 4, I'm going to go with... Yeah, okay, make sure I probably read it wrong. Number 4, I'm going to go with Ohio State.
All right.
Urban Meyer-led team, you can hardly doubt. The only problem with them is you lose Chandler Jones. You lost Bratson Miller, but you got J.T. Barrett coming back, one of the better quarterbacks in the nation, will probably compete for a Heisman, which we'll talk about later. So we have that. And then number 3, I have Oklahoma. Oklahoma, you're returning Baker Mayfield. You're returning Samaj Perrin. Really good backfield combos. Yeah, I know I messed that up. Defense, though, on the defense side, they lost 4 first-team Big 12s All-Americans. In the first 6 weeks, this team actually has to play Houston, Ohio State, TCU, and Texas. So talk about right out the gates. You're getting tested right off the bat.
A lot of top 10 teams.
Houston's
right
a top 10. I have Houston in my actually I made a top 10. Houston's my number 10 team.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of people have Houston up there as in top 10 for sure.
But on the defensive side, you have Jordan Thomas as cornerback, 5 interceptions, and you have a really good tandem at safety position. Strong safety, you have Stephen Parker. Free safety, you have Ahmad Thomas. They combined for 135 total tackles last year. So pretty good secondary, but it's the front 7 that lost a lot of people. Number 2. I have Clemson. They're my number 2. Deshaun Watson returning, Heisman hopeful. We'll get to ours later. But they have a road trip to Florida State, which could decide, who goes to the playoffs, who doesn't. They're returning Wayne Gallman. They're 1,527 yards running back. Pretty good dual threat combo with him and Watson. 4 of their top 5 pass catchers are coming back. Mike Williams is returning to the team, who had 1,030 yards in 2014. He was out with a neck injury last year. They also have road game at Auburn. They start the season in Auburn. So that should be a very interesting test for them.
Right off the gate.
Yep. Number 1, Alabama. You're going to have a new quarterback this year, new wide receiver, new running back, obviously, with Derrick Henry gone to the draft. But you're returning Jonathan Allen, defensive end. He had 12 sacks. Linebacker Reuben Foster, 73 tackles. And, that's for the NFL standard, 73, I think it's pretty good for a linebacker. That's 16 games. This is like almost, maybe like 12 or 13 they're playing here. Eddie Jackson, 6 interceptions, a strong safety. Also, you have no Cyrus Jones, so you guys see who's going to do the return game for him because he made a lot of big returns last year for Alabama when they need it. But you're going to have Calvin Ridley at wideout. First-year starter quarterback Cooper Bateman. But for some reason, they always bring in good quarterbacks there at Alabama. They just have guys who run the system. They have the number 4 offensive line registered in the nation, but they have road games though this year at Ole Miss, Tennessee, and LSU, so it could be very interesting. I always thought something interesting about Alabama is they always win these, prestige, national championships year in and year out. They're competing, but you rarely see any of their quarterbacks ever get drafted. The last one, I think, to make a playoff start right now is A.J. McCarron last year for the Bengals when Andy Dalton went down. But it's funny how they do all this without a big tier quarterback. Very interesting how they do that. Real quick, do you have any dark horse teams that you would like to discuss?
I think, like you just mentioned, Houston. I mean, when I think of college football and someone who's a very, very, very casual, watcher of NCAA.
And the upset last year they did against
NCAA,
Florida State.
Sorry. Huh?
The upset last year in the bowl game was Florida State, and it wasn't just a little upset.
No, they blew them out.
They blew out Florida State.
Florida State didn't have a great offense last year, but their defense was on point.
Yeah.
It was definitely a defense that was a very tough opponent. But when I think of football teams from Texas, you're thinking Texas A&M, you're thinking
Baylor,
Texas Tech,
TCU.
Baylor, but all of a sudden Houston comes out of nowhere and
the coach
wins the bowl
didn't
game.
leave, and he
Right.
stayed, so he stayed
Right.
there. My dark horse actually this year is going to be Tennessee Volunteers.
Okay.
They've spent a long past 5 or so years. They've been having coaches carousels, whatnot. They finally have, I think, a certified coach who knows what he's doing, and they have, a potential Heisman candidate in Joshua Dobbs at quarterback. You have a running back duo of Jalen Hurd and Alvin Carmen, who combined for 1,986 yards last year. You have 17 starters are coming back. So really, you only lost 7 starters from the previous year. So it's interesting to see, I think, what Tennessee's going to do. And the fact that Alabama has to come to them this year, that game could decide, who goes to the playoffs, who doesn't. I think Tennessee's actually going to win their division of the SEC. And I think they'll be in a title game against Alabama.
All right.
For the SEC, not the SEC.
I gotcha.
So now what we're going to do is I want to discuss the week 1 matchups. I like to go through big matchups. It's always one of the things I always like to do. Like I said, right out the gate, you have Oklahoma at Houston, going to Houston. They're actually playing at the stadium where the Texans play at, and NRG Stadium, and that's going to be a 12 o'clock game. So that gets you go. I mean, you got up at 11. Like I said, I'm going to be up by 12 o'clock. Tune into that game. I mean, that's going to be a really good game.
I hope you're up by 12. I mean,
hey, sometimes I like to sleep in. So you have that game. Obviously, Howard plays Maryland at 12 o'clock on the Big Ten Network, so you'll be able to catch that. Virginia Tech opens up against Liberty. I'm sorry. And then another big game to start off. You have LSU versus Wisconsin. I think they played last year as well. Wisconsin, not what they used to be. Big Ten powerhouse because everyone else has developed, but still should be a pretty good game with LSU. We'll showcase what LSU is going to showcase in our Heisman watch. And then you get down to some of the night games, and you have some pretty good matchups. Sorry, I didn't write them down like I probably should have, but
Alabama, USC. I mean, those are two pretty good teams right there.
I have Alabama pretty much coast.
Well,
they're going to win by 20, I think.
They should, but it's still a national, ranked team. Two nationally ranked teams going off in prime time, 8 o'clock.
Clemson and Auburn.
Yeah,
which should be a pretty good matchup. Then you have on Sunday. You have Notre Dame at. Let's stop going. Notre Dame at Texas, which should be a pretty good game. And then to close out on Monday night on Labor Day, you got Ole Miss versus Florida State. So right off the bat, you got some pretty good matchups. That's a good thing about college football. Usually the first week to the third week, you're gonna have really good matchups between everyone. Like I said, Oklahoma, week 3, they gotta play Ohio State. So there you go. You're in football season now. Every week you're gonna get good ones. And the good thing is, once you get past the first 3 weeks, then you get the conference play. Some may tone down, some not. But I think the scheduling committee gets everything right in college football that you want to see.
Yeah, that's where
Oklahoma, I think, got the short end of the stick.
Okay.
To be honest with you, you got to play Houston week 1, then you get ULM in week 2. You get a little cakewalk there. Then you got to go Ohio State, TCU, Texas. Then you get Kansas State, Texas Tech, Kansas. Little couple things. Then you finish off the season Baylor, West Virginia, Oklahoma State. So it's like they better be right to begin the season, or they could be 10-1, or they could be like 8-3 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And that's not going to be enough to get them where they want to be.
12 games.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
12 games. Well, sorry. The problem with not like Texas, Oklahoma, and them, they don't have a conference championship.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what kills them. Is the committee's like, okay, well, all these teams won their conference championships. Let's, they got the extra game. Let's put them in. So,
yeah,
Oklahoma, I think for a Big 12 team to get in the playoffs, you gotta go undefeated. I think you almost do.
In the beginning, yeah, because
no, I think the season they're gonna have to.
Season?
I think they're gonna have to go undefeated.
Well,
because look at it, if you lose to Ohio State, then we get towards the end of the season. Ohio State, let's say Ohio State even loses in the conference championship game. And let's say it's them in Oklahoma. You're a committee person. Who are you gonna look at?
Yeah.
The team that won in week 3.
Right.
So all right, so we got that. So let's chatter up about Maryland this year.
Switch gears.
Not gonna be honest with you, Maryland Terp fans. We're both wearing. I got a Maryland jersey, Maryland tie. It's not gonna be a good year for Maryland. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
All right.
Yeah, sorry. You lose your top 2 recruits. They went to Ohio State last year, but the quarterback situation once again just sucks. Perry Hills, Caleb Rowe. They're not Heisman Trophy winners. They're not even probably Big Ten Player of the Year guys. They're not 4, maybe even 3-star recruits. But you just gotta do what you gotta do with. So, what are your thoughts on Maryland this year?
Well, I think the most important thing, like you just mentioned, is quarterback play. I think any team, regardless of where you play, NFL, NCAA, you got to have a quarterback that takes care of the football. And that was the biggest problem last year. I think we had 29 interceptions, and which is absolutely abysmal. That's just terrible. Our turnover ratio was probably one of the worst. And there to go, 29 interceptions versus 9 interceptions. We threw 29 interceptions and we got 9 interceptions. That's a negative 20 ratio.
Yeah.
You're not going to win many games that way. So quarterback play has to be settled down early. Let's get our starter. Let's work on getting him reps, and let's get this season going well against Howard.
All right. Will Likely is looking to be one of the best players, if not in the conference, but maybe in the country. Especially, everything he can do. He can play defense. He can play offense, return game.
Special teams, yeah.
I'm very thankful he came back. But I'm really just Maryland's coach DJ Durkin. Very good. Probably, I think it's probably the best coaching hire we've had in a while. Especially the kind of coaching tree he comes from. Urban Myers, Harbaugh with Michigan. So he has a really good tree. And the thing about DJ Durkin that everyone should like is look forward to 2017.
Yeah.
Because he's gone, he has a big thing out of Florida, and he went and got, the number 2 defensive end that's in Florida. Maryland, let's look at 17's commits so far. The number 2 DN from Florida, Joshua Kenoda. I don't know how to say his last name. Number 14 cornerback, Deion Jones. Number 24 offensive guard, Jordan McNair. Number 53 wide receiver, Sean Nelson. You got the number 17 wide receiver, quarterback, and Taysom Hill. And these are all guys ranked in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, this class is, I think, in the top, if not top 10, getting very close, depending on a couple more commitments that go their way. And this is great for Maryland. This is what Maryland needs. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of guys over 75. When's the last time you could say Maryland had a top 10 recruiting class? Ever?
I don't even remember.
And the reason these guys are coming here is because we have Durkin, the whole
Coaching staff.
MD, turf movement, whatever it is, 2017. And a lot of these guys know each other and are getting people to come here. Which let's hope all these guys do stay around this time. We saw what happened last year.
Yep.
So hopefully that happens. But, Maryland fans, don't be too upset about, this year if you only win 3, 4. I think
I was going to ask you, as you're giving projections, what's our worst case record and what's our best case record? What do you think?
All right. Well, let me go through the schedule.
All right.
I'll go win or loss.
All right,
what they
that's
should
fine.
do. Howard should be a win, so
All
that's
right,
one.
one.
How about you count them for me? Howard win. Florida International should be a win.
Crap, I just had the schedule in front of me too.
You know what? I'll write it down for you. This is how you this is how you do stuff here on the show. Don't do that.
Oh, there it
So
is. I got it.
Howard win. FIU should be a win. UCF should be a win. Purdue should be a win. So you could start off 4-0 right off the bat.
Wow,
Should.
it's a good start.
Penn State, I think that's going to be a loss.
I agree.
Minnesota, win.
Okay.
Michigan State, loss.
I agree.
Indiana, I think that's an up-in-the-air game. I'll give them the benefit of doubt. I'll say win.
Okay. So best case we win, worst case we lose.
Okay, so here we go. We got sits right now or 5. Michigan loss, Ohio State loss, Nebraska loss, Rutgers loss. Finish the game 4 straight losses. So either you're gonna go, what was that? 5 and
6 and because we get 12 games, right?
yeah.
So 6 and 6.
Either gonna go 6 and 6 or 5 and 7.
Okay. So we do you think we'll get to? You think we could get 7? Honestly.
No.
You don't think we can finish above 500?
I don't think we're gonna get to 7. I don't think they're going to a bowl game this year. Don't think.
Yeah, I think like you said.
Because even some of those games where we gave them wins, they could end up being losses for all we know.
Right. It depends on quarterback play, turnover ratio. But I think you're right. I think we could start off really strong, get our confidence going, our momentum up. But then we run into some really big teams. And that's where we'll probably falter.
Best case scenario, 7 and 5. Worst case, 4 and 8.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, Maryland fans, don't get too discouraged if you go 4 and 8. Look forward to 17 because we got a strong draft. See, look what you made me do. Recruiting class. So we'll look forward to that. So now we're going to segue over, as friends like to say, to Heisman Watch. Let's get to the Heisman Watch. Start with you. Go from, how many people did you pick?
5.
All right, go from 5 to 1.
All right, 5 to 1. Number 5, I think he was the number 3 in votes last year, which is Christian McCaffrey from Stanford. I mean, he set the single season record for all-purpose yards. I mean, you can't deny his ability.
He even passed for a touchdown. What didn't he do?
He's a beast.
It's crazy.
But I don't think Stanford as a team is going to be strong enough to have him.
That's not his problem. You want to know what his real problem is?
Go ahead.
This is the real problem for people like him. You play on the West Coast. People on the East and the Central
They don't
want to stay up to freaking 10 o'clock to watch a game.
Oh, sorry.
Especially if Stanford's playing like Arizona.
And also, I think they have quarterback questions right now. So he's going to be a monster again. I just don't think he's going to be number 3.
It's always been the problem for West Coast people. Unless you're like a superstar and everyone knows who you are,
right?
You're not going to get the national spotlight that you should get.
Will he still be a beast? Probably.
Yes.
Is he going to get close to his numbers?
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah. So number 4, I have Dalvin Cook, FSU. He was actually absolute beast last year. He was explosive, 7.3 yards a carry. And basically, if they can use him, if they can integrate him in the passing game, I think that he's got a chance. I think he had almost 20 touchdowns last year as well, so he was utilized. If they can just give him the rock a little more, I think he definitely got a shot. Number 3, I have another running back. This might surprise some people. Some people have him number 1, but I've got Fournette from LSU. A lot of people have him as either number 1, number 2 in terms of the Heisman race. I think that he's going to be good, but he's playing in a really tough conference. And in those 3 losses that LSU had last year, I think he averaged maybe 60 or 70 yards from those games. And I think he only had 2 touchdowns over those 3 games of his overall, what is it, how many touchdowns he scored? I can't even remember how many touchdowns he scored last year, but I think he's just going to come into a couple walls, and to be the Heisman Trophy winner, you can't have anomalies and bloops of 60, 70 yard games. It's just not going to happen. Number 2, actually, I accidentally swapped these. So number 3 should have been Baker Mayfield, quarterback from Oklahoma. I think he's going to be their team. He's going to be their MVP for this team. And, of course, number 1.
He had 22 touchdowns last year.
22 touchdowns. So 2 of his 22 touchdowns came in those 3 losses. So all the other games, he was an absolute monster. Those 3 games, he was just shut down. But I don't think there's a question. The number 1 favorite for the Heisman Trophy is Deshaun Watson. I mean, number 2 last year behind Derrick Henry. They didn't win it all last year, but obviously he was a huge part of that offense. Over 4,000 yards, over 1,100 yards rushing. How many total touchdowns he had, I don't even remember. 29 through the air. Let's see, what was it? 11 or 12 through the ground. Actually, no, I'm sorry. 35 touchdowns and 12 through the ground. I mean, how much better can he get? And we'll see. We'll see how much better he can get. But I think he'll be definitely number 1.
All right, so we'll go with my number 5 first is actually Baker Mayfield for Oklahoma. I think he'll have another good season for Oklahoma, and I think the season rides on what he can do.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens with that. Number 3 for me is number 4 for me is Delvin Cook from Florida State. Same thing you said, complete beast. Number 3 for me is Christian McCaffrey from Stanford. Only because let's look at this guy last year. Rushing yards, 2019, 8 touchdowns. Receiving yards, 645 with 5 touchdowns. I mean, the guy, it's ridiculous what he can do on the ground. Especially, I think he's going to be I think he's going to be a good NFL player when he comes in as well.
Yeah, I could see him being almost like a Danny Woodhead.
But bigger.
Exactly. So,
I mean, he sits 1, 201. I mean, he's not like gigantic, but I think he's someone I think could be an every down back, if not a third down specialist for sure.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me is
Did I say Woodfield?
You did Danny. It's Woodhead, isn't it?
Woodhead.
Yeah. Were you on Woodfield Road today or something?
No. I was thinking Mayfield. But.
Number 2 for me, same as you, Leonard Fournette for LSU. Like I said, those 2 games that he had bad starts, they lost both of them.
Right.
Number 1, Deshaun Watson. I mean,
what more can you say?
He's a dual threat. He'll be the number 1 pick in the draft next year, more than likely. He'll probably go to.
It depends. It's really going to depend on who's got the number 1, because if they have already got a solid quarterback, why not pick Fournette?
You know what? He's going to be a damn Brown next year, probably. He's going to be with the Cleveland Browns.
We'll see.
RG3, you're one and done because they're bringing in another one guy for you to sit on the bench behind.
We'll see. But he's the same type of quarterback.
I think he's better.
He's a dual threat quarterback where, he's running the ball for 1,100 yards. He's passing the ball for 4,000 yards. And the thing is, that's really what the trend is in college football. If you take a look at the quarterbacks who have won the Heisman Trophy in the past, 10 years, 10, 15 years, when was the last non-dual threat quarterback? Sam Bradford?
Maybe. Even Bradford ran the ball a little bit in college.
A little bit, but, he wasn't really known for that. You know what I mean?
Look, I was even right.
What?
They do like a little mock thing and they base it off like projections. Cleveland Browns, number 1 pick, Deshaun Watson.
Oh, God. I think.
You know what? I'm done with this projection. It says Tennessee picking 3rd.
That's true. There you go.
49ers.
They might be number 2, actually.
49ers taking a quarterback we haven't even mentioned, Brad Kaya from Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even mentioned him.
Well, I actually have read a lot of that Miami could be a dark horse this year. We'll see. But back to
Wait,
What?
Oh, I forgot. We have 2 picks in the first round. I was looking. It's like, why do I have another pick here?
But back to the quarterbacks. I mean, you've got who is it? Cam Newton,
Here,
Johnny Manziel.
I'll do what they do on the radio. I'll pull up.
All right, so Cam Newton, Johnny Manziel, RG3, Tebow. I mean, those are all.
Did you say Manziel?
Yeah. Those are all dual threat quarterbacks. And that's really what the trend is right now in college
Manziel
football.
just showed you can be an alcoholic and still play good football.
Yeah, he's working on his comeback right now.
Yeah, you mean like Tebow playing baseball? That's so stupid.
Well,
Winston, I mean, I really wouldn't consider him a dual threat. He was more of a pocket passer and.
yeah, he was kind
college.
of slow, but he had the ability to run. He
But
just
behind him,
didn't.
it was Bradford and
Leinart, right?
Leinart won in 2004. Jason White 2003. Carson Palmer. So
Again,
before that, it was
pocket passers.
pocket passers.
Right. And then you've got dual threat quarterbacks.
Yeah, like Danny Wolfel. So before that little trend, the last dual threat one was Charlie Ward back in 1993.
Damn.
It's a while.
I was what, 3, 4, something like that.
When we were born, Andre Ware won. He was a dual threat quarterback for Houston.
All right.
So, all right.
That's interesting. That's interesting to see. But I think we both agree Deshaun Watson is our number 1 guy right now.
So let's get into our playoff predictions.
All right.
So you're gonna have the 1 play the 4, and the 2 plays the
play
3.
the 3.
All right. First, let's go round by 1. Who's your 1 and who's your 4? Who's matching up?
No, let's have you go first.
All right. My 1 and 4 matchup will be Alabama will be 1 for me, and Michigan will be my 4.
My pen decided
Now,
not to work.
I went through a lot on this. I had Tennessee at a 4 at
No,
one
I'm good.
point.
Thank you.
I had Michigan somewhere else at one
Sorry,
point.
you had Alabama and Michigan.
Yeah, I had, like I said, I had Ohio State there. I've had Tennessee. I went through everything. I just think Tennessee's going to have 1 or 2 losses, especially, and then if they
It's
lose.
going to come down to 1 or 2
Yeah.
games. Yeah.
I like Michigan. I think they could run the tables in the Big Ten. And the thing is, people are probably like, oh, well, you picked Ohio State and all these other teams in your top 5. That's right now. This is what I think the season's going to finish up as you go along. But based on what people have now, this is what I can see happening. I have Alabama advancing to,
Well, let's do the first
Okay,
round
sorry.
first. Yeah. So,
So-
1 and 4.
and then my 2 and 3 is 2 Clemson, 3.
Oh, crap. Clemson at 2.
3. I'm gonna go with. You know what? I'm gonna change this up just to change it up. Just to throw. I'm gonna throw a curveball in here.
All right, go ahead.
Houston at 3.
Ooh.
I'm gonna throw a curveball.
That is a huge curveball.
I'm gonna throw that nasty Clayton Kershaw curveball.
Yeah, he's the best.
Too
Best
bad
in the
he's-
business, I agree.
Too bad he's hurt right now.
Yeah. Did you hear what he did for the LA Rams?
What did he buy them?
He bought each one of them a bottle of Johnny Walker. I think a $200 bottle of Johnny, $250, something like that.
What did he do with
Who
the?
did that?
What happens with the?
Clayton Kershaw, the pitcher for the LA Dodgers, bought a bottle, like a really nice bottle of Johnny Walker for each of the players of the Rams.
Speaking of the
Wow.
Rams, did
Yeah.
you catch the first night of Hard Knocks?
No, I didn't.
Did you see what happened to the former Maryland wide receiver?
No, what happened?
He got cut because he brought a girl to the room.
Oh, I heard about
Deion
that.
Long.
I heard about
former
that.
Maryland wide receiver was pretty good here. Got cut because he brought a female to the dorms when he wasn't supposed to.
Gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Oh,
man.
so here, so real quick, we can talk about what they do on air, right, Paul?
Sure.
right now.
So ESPN's doing their little fantasy. Are they doing PPRs or no?
I'm not sure if they're doing PPR, but either way, it's a mock draft.
They're doing a mock draft, celebrity mock draft, and the first, so this is, we already had our fantasy show, but David Johnson was taken first overall by
Number
whoever,
1.
by whoever the
Wow.
person was.
Okay.
So there you go. All right,
Team
so
Flay.
yeah, I don't know who that is. Flavor Flav?
No, not Flavor Flav. What the hell?
All right, sorry. Let's go top. So I have Clemson versus Houston, and I have. Are we picking the winners yet? Or are we waiting?
No, we'll
No.
do the first round. Then
Alright.
we'll pick winners. So I've got 1 versus 4. I've got Clemson number 1.
Mm-hmm.
I think Clemson will be the number 1 team this year, just based off their schedule, the conference that they're in. I think they'll be the number 1. Number 4, I might have to switch it up too.
Oh, I got you thinking now, didn't I? A little bit.
I've got Oklahoma in there. Yeah,
Are
I'm-
you sure?
I'm sure. I'm locking it in right now. Oklahoma, number 4. Number 2, I've got Alabama. I think we're pretty close in terms of 1 and 2. Alabama, Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
I've got them versus Michigan. I think Michigan's going to be top 4 this year for sure.
I'll let you go first for your winners. Who do you have in the national championship game?
I have a rematch.
Do you know?
I have a rematch. I have Clemson advancing over Oklahoma, and I got Alabama beating Michigan.
I also have a rematch, and I have Bama versus Clemson. So we each. I mean,
All right.
I mean, it's hard not to pick these two teams.
As of right now, they're the 2 best teams in the nation. I mean, I think most people would agree that either Clemson or Alabama are 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then Clemson or Alabama, whoever they didn't pick, would be a solid number 2. Those are the safe plays right now.
I'm trying to look up right now what days the schedule of the games are, because last year they really screwed that up.
What do you mean?
Okay, see, they did it again. The
What?
college football playoffs. They put them on New Year's Eve. That is the
Mhm.
dumbest time to put a college football playoff. You want to know why?
Why?
Because can you imagine trying to be a husband, trying to tell your wife, "Oh no, I'm not going to our New Year's Eve party. I'm going to stay home and watch football."
Well,
ain't gonna
that
happen.
New Year's
What
party better
game
have
is
a
it?
TV.
Is it like it's not like the final, or it's not like the championship game?
No,
or
no,
is
it's
it-
just their playoffs, the semifinals.
It's the semifinals.
But
right?
yeah, you got to hope that. But they shouldn't. I mean, they said last year, oh, the ratings were down. Well, no shit. You put it on New Year's
Ooh,
Eve.
Team Diva is Team 2. I can't wait to see who they're gonna pick.
Okay.
You know who Team Diva is?
No.
T.O. and Chad Johnson.
No. Gee, they'll probably take Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham.
I bet you money they'll take a wide receiver.
So okay.
Oh wait, here comes the pick.
That's funny. Who are they gonna pick?
Okay. Anyway.
They must have been so bored. They're like, sure, we'll do this. Are you guys gonna pay us? Hell yeah. They've got money though. I'm sure they've got money saved up.
Ocho Cinco.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Adrian Peterson.
Oh,
Wow.
they
So I
took
just
a
lost
runner.
some money.
You did. All right. So. Oh yeah. So yeah, they lost ratings last year, and it's like you put it on New
Right.
Year's Eve. A lot of people aren't going to stay at home and watch that. Luckily, I was at a casino, so I just watched it in there.
Yeah.
All right. So
This must not be a PPR league.
no. It must
There's no way you could take David Johnson, Adrian Peterson 1 and 2 in a PPR league.
All right. So what did I do? Yeah. So okay, who do you have winning the national championship?
I have Clemson beating Alabama.
I have Clemson beating Alabama. I think they lost a good. Like I said, Alabama lost some starters. I think
Yeah.
on defense. You lose Derrick Henry, who pounded the ball that game. I think Clemson's offense. They're bringing so many people back. All the chemistry's still gonna be there. I think they're gonna roll through it.
I agree, and I think Deshaun Watson is going to come and show us why he should have been the Heisman Trophy winner last year. I mean, obviously he didn't win it. Derrick Henry won it, and he obviously won that game for Alabama too. But I think he's going to come back with a vengeance and say, you know what? I should have won this.
Now, see, next year they're on the 1st. The year after that, the 29th. So they're changing it up every year. And then after that, the 28th, and then they go. They don't go back to the 31st till 2021.
Wow.
So yeah, there we go, people. That's it. We both picked Clemson and Bama to be in the title game. We both picked Clemson to win it. The major difference I think we both had is I had Houston, and I think you had Oklahoma, wasn't it?
Right. We both
Yeah.
had Michigan in the top 4.
Yes.
So we had Clemson, Alabama, and Michigan. Maybe not in the same order, but
But the only difference was I had Houston making a dark horse run, which is always hard for a team outside of a big FBS. But I believe their conference they do have a title game, which could help them out.
all right.
And I think,
We'll see.
and Houston also plays Navy every year, so that should be interesting to see now that Navy's in a conference. So that's our college preview.
All right.
Yay?
Team Mike and
Nice.
Mike in the morning is up.
Yeah. Before they make, is this the third pick?
There's the third overall pick.
round 1, pick 3.
I'm not
I'm
doing
guessing
any-
Todd Gurley.
I'm not doing anything this is because
I'm guessing
we're
Todd
PPR.
Gurley or Antonio Brown. I mean, those are the top 2 players right now
Who are they gonna
that are
pick,
on the
Matt?
board.
They're going to pick a defense because of
Oh God.
Freeman is a defensive player.
A defense.
They'll
There's
take
no way to
They'll
pick
take the
a defense.
Broncos.
We need.
What if they took the Broncos? Gurley, there you go.
There you go. Yeah, Todd
All right.
Gurley. This
So-
definitely is not a PPR league.
So tonight you got the Nationals on against the Colorado. They're in Colorado. They start 8:40. You got the Redskins play the Jets.
Jets.
Next week is the Bills. So we got a pretty good thing. Now that I have a new job, we'll be able to come back every Tuesdays again. Now we'll be back on every Tuesday if that's good with our producer.
Woohoo! Yeah.
So I finally start that. So like I said, we'll do our NFL preview show September 6th, which is the same night as the draft for my Yahoo league.
I was about to ask you that.
So Paul, Chris, while we're doing the show, I hope are you gonna be able to multitask with that, or are you gonna have to do auto pick?
Yeah, no, I'll be able to. I mean, yeah, I'll be able to do it. I'll have lots of questions. I'll be like, all right, who's it going to be?
We don't say a word to him. So during the draft, we're also going to do our NFL preview show. So it'd be kind of cool to do our fantasy draft and the preview show at the same time.
Well, we've got 2 leagues this year, right?
Yeah, we have an ESPN league, which I think just filled up. So we have both leagues are all filled up now. So everyone competing. You know, if you win the Yahoo lead, I will be once again getting a trophy. The only reason I didn't get one last year is because I won the lead, so I didn't want to look like a loser getting myself a
Buy
trophy.
yourself a trophy.
So it's gonna be fun to do the NFL preview during the draft, and then like I said, look forward to September 11th for our kickoff special show.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of things coming up.
I wonder if we can have people dial in if they want to who are going to be doing the draft. Like we can have them on a big conference call or something like that.
It'd be hard for one big conference call. It's a lot of phones.
No, a lot of people talking at once.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
I mean, we
talking.
can mute them. You know, we could just. Oh, I'll work on it.
We'll try. We'll see what
If
we can
not,
figure out.
we'll just get them all to pull up the Facebook thing, and they can all chat in that.
Yeah, that's
There
true.
we go.
So
I think Anthony may want to come on actually just to guest on the show because he's going to help us preview the NFC East since he is
a Giants.
a
fan.
Giants fan.
Uh-huh.
Bojo, I tried to get for Philadelphia, but he declined because he says he's not much of a, he likes Philadelphia, but he doesn't do much Eagles. But he will come back on when we do hockey again.
Great.
That's cool. That's
Okay.
cool.
So we got all that going on. So it should be exciting next couple weeks with baseball and everything. Of course, we're coming down to the final month of the baseball season, so we're getting close. So
That's great.
real quick before Paul does his Shamil, remember to check out OT3 this week. We're gonna try to work out a special show because we got the SummerSlam preview. I'll talk to you after that.
Okay.
His what?
Yeah. SummerSlam.
No. You said his what? His Shamil?
His Shamil.
I
Shamil.
don't. What's a Shamil?
Isn't that what they say?
Spiel.
Spiel. Sorry, Spiel. And then also make sure everyone before he goes, check out his Crazy Talk podcast. You have to explain on what you have it on this year now because I can't find it.
Every Wednesday, right?
Yeah, it's Wednesday, but it's not on YouTube anymore. What's it on?
Yeah, if you just go to the website, crazytalk.com with a K. It's crazy with the K. But we broadcast it over like Mixler, which is just like a...
Okay. Is there a chat room in there too?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Paul, take it away for our show.
Yeah, so after you hit the crazytalkpodcast.com, crazytalk.com, you can go to shipesportstalk.com and to find all the latest information about the show, podcasts. You can hit us up on Facebook, follow us, like us. It's Facebook.com/Shipe Sports Talk and at Shipe Sports Talk on Twitter. Shoot us some questions, comments, your opinions, whatever you want, what you're looking forward to this season. That would be good to hear, and we'd love to talk about it. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, looking forward to that live show we're going to be doing. So
He's already said during the show he's eating wings and drinking a beer.
Hell yeah, why not?
He's already said we have not eaten on the show before, so that'll be a first.
yeah, what we should do the coffin wing.
No, I'll die on the show.
Insane. We'll do one insane wing a piece.
No,
All right, that's fine.
Oh God, off air.
We'll end it off with that and shots.
I ate a great place last night.
Where's that?
That new seafood place, that Urban Crawfish over
Yeah.
by Beat Up. Dude, it's so good.
Before we get too off topic, when's the next show?
That's Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Yep.
All right.
We'll keep going with previewing the Redskins. We'll preview their second game since more of the stars will play more.
Yep.
Dive into some more baseball and maybe get ready for some baseball and hockey
See
possibly.
what we can do. See what
Yep,
NFL
but-
news is
It's going
is
around.
relevant.
I'm sure we'll get some more.
All right.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
So yeah. So so for myself, for Paul, for Chris, thank you for joining us. Everyone have a great rest of your week and weekend, and enjoy the Montgomery County Fair.
That's true. It's here.
I like that.
I think we're hitting that tomorrow.
When does it end? Is it this coming weekend?
Sunday or something.
This coming weekend. Right?
It's this week. Yeah, I
Have
think.
fun in that heat.
Yeah, I might not even go.
It's too hot.
Because it's supposed to be raining or something like that. So
is it really?
they might
Can you
go.
imagine-
They
can you
might go in the daytime and then
Can you imagine
Right.
all the people that got caught yesterday during that storm?
nuts. The storms are getting crazy, man.
I had the
Global
suite.
warming.
I had the suite for the Frederick Keys yesterday,
I saw.
and that was canceled.
Dude,
That
Oh
sucked.
no!
When was
Yeah.
there? When's the makeup game?
Well, how do you
Today.
get the suite
Why didn't
for?
you go to it?
Because it was at like 5 o'clock,
Oh.
and I
How
was
d-
still working.
How do you get the suite for the Keys
Oh
game?
well, the company I work for, they sponsor the field, so we
Oh,
have our
okay.
own suite.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You should have been like, "Can I get another game?"
Well, that's what I still have the tickets, the general admission tickets.
Uh-huh.
I just don't have the suite. because the suite's booked up for the rest of the season.
Oh, you have to get that next year.
Yeah, that'll be
Bummer.
fun.
All right. Well, have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Go Terps.
See ya.